drive, standard feature. So quick coupler here makes the quick coupler you see on the pickup over there. So no drive shaft to take off like on your 890. No shaft to take off. So even an 800 series would be just the same. No shaft, it's done through the quick coupler. Colin took the guard off the other side, which the belt would be on yours. This one's got variable header drive, so no belt, but we still have the guards. There's hooks underneath, which he's taken off, and now he winds off the hooks on the top. So with yours, you have to V it open. This will hinge open like a door. That's it, yeah. So what you'll find now is you can pull the feed rollers forward, but we'll do it in 2 stages. So that's the first stage. You see it exposes the 2 PTO shafts. So the first one, the top one, on all 900 series foragers is your head or your feed roller drive. So yours, you've got 6 speeds with 6 chop lengths. This is hydraulically driven, variable chop length. Yeah. So the top shaft is your feed roller drive. The bottom shaft is an option. It's our variable header drive. So we can actually change the header speed on the move from the cab. So like I say, the big difference between an 8 and a 900 series is this part here, the fact you can swing the rollers open. But all our Jaguars have a lot of similarities, so that the headers that go on the front, they are the same. So the grass pickup you see here is the same for a 400 horsepower 840 as it is for a 925 horsepower 990. So standard with a double roller crop press, hydraulic folding wheels, the central wheel you see under here, and also they now have this little pendulum frame in the centre. So whereas your header, you've got the flex in the little rubber bushes on the back, we have the flex here with the pendulum frame. So Connor locked it with a pin here. If you unlock it, this gives you your lateral float left and right, and the spring's just there to centralise it, because obviously this end is heavier because of the drives than you find on this end. 3-speed gearbox as opposed to the 2 on your feed roller drive. So this gives you again more auger speed adjustment. And then underneath here you've got your chain drive and then your externally mounted auger clutch. So a cam type clutch on these as opposed to the friction clutch you have on your machine. 5-tine bar pickup reel like you saw on the Quadrant, which yours would be 4. And then when you get to this part, similar design with the feed rollers and that we still use 4. The reason we do it is we believe it feeds better, you get better chop quality because the front one can open and the rear one can stay closed, then the front can open and the rear can stay closed. So if you go through your uneven swaths, you always have nice even contact with the crop. This is where some of the differences change. 900 series uses springs to pull the front rollers down, whereas yours uses springs on the front and rear. 800 series still uses springs front and rear. The different part is in here on the rear rollers, they're hydraulically tensioned, so we use 2 cylinders to pull the rollers down. Big advantage with the cylinders, there's multiple advantages. One, they're double acting, so as well as pulling the rollers down, we can also push them up. So if, for example, Robbie comes down across and gets a big stone or something jammed in it, or underneath here it's just full of crop and you want to clean it, you can actually lift the rollers, get the air line out, blow all the rubbish out, or dig out whatever's stuck in the front of it. Also, especially for chop quality, it's much smoother in its operation. Pretty much every system that has a spring, our 800 series is the same, your older machine's the same. The more you stretch a spring, the more load it gives you. So when you have a light crop, you don't have a lot of compression because the springs aren't being stretched. When you've got a thick crop, more stretch, more compression. Hydraulic cylinders give you pretty much the same load when they're slammed closed as when they're opened all the way. So especially if you're chopping rye for biogas, maize for biogas, and it's a poor yield, you still get a lot of compression on the rear rollers to give you your optimum chop quality. And the nice thing with it as well, because it knows what header's on the front, it knows what crop we're chopping. So say for example we're chopping grass at 15 mil today, we run low pressure. It also knows we have a 970, so it has a different pressure setting than a Jaguar 930. Then we put the whole crop header on the front, and it knows we must be chopping wheat or rye, for example, so it runs higher pressure. We put the Orbis on the front, and knows we're chopping maize, again, high pressure. Whereas, like our Jaguar 800 series, or your older machine, or any machine with springs, if it's chopping grass in Cork, or it's chopping maize in Texas, it is the same. This is automatic adjustment for every crop, every chop length, every horsepower. So much better for feed, much better for chop quality. The other difference between like the 8s and 9s, which is said as well, hydraulic drive for feed rollers as opposed to mechanical, and this one's got variable header drive as opposed to a fixed header drive. So Robbie left it in auto, so it means header drive is set to match a chop length. So long chop, fast rollers, fast header, short chop, slow rollers, slow header. Or if you want to, you can bias it, so you can go slightly faster or slower than the auto setting if you need to. Another nice feature with it, very useful especially in grass, you'd use it a lot at home. If you find metal or stones, you can actually reverse the header out and you can keep the feed roller stationary. So instead of having to drag all the crop out of the grass pickup and look through it to find the piece of wire or whatever's in there, you can spit every part of the header out on the floor, and you don't really have to look for it because the metal is held in the feed rollers. So when you go looking for it,
you need a smaller bit.
Yeah, much smaller bit to look through, or like most people, much smaller bit to go chucking in the hedge.
Just throw it out.
Yeah, if you can't find it.
Try and lob it into the trailer.
Pick it up again next year.
You go in here, some of the differences between an 8 and a 900 series. An 800 series, the rollers don't open quite so wide. A 900 series, they open wider just because there's more volume going through it because it's a higher horsepower machine. When you get to this part, obviously you can't swing the rollers open like you can on yours, but this is the big benefit here. You know, you're ever so quick to get to your shear bar and to get to your blades. And this is where you notice again the big difference between a Jaguar 800 series and a 900 series. So even our latest 800 series uses a V Classic cylinder similar to what's in your 890, it's not a lot different. 900 series comes standard with a V Max cylinder. Dimensionally they're the same, they rotate at the same speed. The biggest difference though is you see here in the design of the blade. This is a curved type blade as opposed to the flat type blade on your machine. The big benefit with this one over like a V Classic is maintenance time. These blades have no movement, so they stay in until
one slot.
Yeah, until they're completely worn, but then you throw them away. You haven't got to pull them forwards as they wear like you would do with your machine.
No resetting the drum.
No. And it's easier to set. So like for example on your machine you have to pull the blades forward and set them to the shear bar. This you set the blades to the cylinder. So the way you do that, say these are worn, you want to put a new set in, throw the old ones away, new one goes on, bolts and washers go in, do them up finger tight, then you push the blade back and around, and the bottom edge of the blade you see here
sits tight against the cylinder.
Yeah, I say it sits against that little tongue you see on the bottom of the washer. You torque up that bolt, and you torque up that bolt, and that's it done.
That's it done.
So half the bolts, and no pulling forwards to set to your shear bar.
But then the knife can't go back if you hit an obstacle.
No, it can't. The knife can't move anywhere. It can't go back anywhere at all. No, there's no movement in it.
So when you chop an arm off the rake and push back 13 knives, you haven't that.
You don't have that.
No, you don't have that ability.
You have a bang.
But when you push them back, if you're lucky, they go back square. But if you're unlucky and they go back on an angle, you have the same problem.
We had that too.
Yeah, they have the same problem as anything.
How many knives come out the spout?
All bar 3.
All the knives came out bar 3.
Bar 3, yeah. We hit a stone.
Yeah.
Everything had to be replaced from the feed rollers to then the spout.
Everything, the whole lot.
Yeah. So the same with any colour forager, the more horsepower they have, when they eat something, you cause more damage. And the other argument as well, your flat type blades that you say you can knock back, when they knock back, they go back 10 mil. And typically what goes in the front is a lot bigger than 10 mil. And if they go back, say for example, you
don't go back square though. You go back and come over in one corner and break.
If something hits it here and they go back square, you're lucky. If something hits it here and they go back on an angle, it's the same as anything. It goes bang. So this isn't any more vulnerable or more the damage than a flat type blade. It's just pros and cons to both of them.
In 12 years we knocked them back 3 times. Twice with stones and once with the tight arm.
The advantage with this machine for stone detection, nothing is foolproof. Make sure that's on camera. But the difference is the feed roller setup on this, because it's hydraulically tensioned and we've got a hydraulic cylinder on the other side to dampen it. No, you don't get the same bounce that you do with a spring system. So if you imagine all day long yours is just bouncing and rocking backwards and forwards, you've got your gas shock absorber to try and dull the movement.
The damper,
This has got a hydraulic cylinder to dull the movement, so it's much better. And because you've got the hydraulic tensioning on it, it is much smoother in its operation. So you genuinely find more foreign objects with this than you do with an 800 series. Where you really notice the difference, before we had the hydraulic tensioning, I'll send my demo out, machine out with a customer. Normally I'm with it all the time, or some salesman's with it. Disappear for a couple hours, go and get a sausage roll or a pasty. You come back and the stone detector's turned off because someone's had a false detection. It's rubbish, don't believe it, not my machine, turn it off. This machine, hydraulic tensioning system, you leave the machine, you come back to it, no one's touched it. It's left where you set it because you don't get the same false detections because it works so much smoother because it's hydraulically tensioned as opposed to the springs. Again, it's not foolproof, but it's a damn sight better than just using springs. Much better.
You gotta get the checkbook out here.
If only, huh?
When you look at all the foragers, again, similar to your 890, so the crop flow that was designed on that was patented years ago. It is still very similar to this today. So part of the Claas Jaguar design is short crop flow distance. So if I stand here with my hip against the shear bar, I can lean back and I can touch the accelerator. And that short distance saves a lot of power. If you think every time you move the crop either backwards or the longer distance or you redirect it, it slows down, it takes more horsepower to try and get rid of it. By having it very short from here to here saves power. Because again, regardless of the colour of the forager, most of the power is needed here to chop it, back there to crack it if it's maize, or in here to blow it and get it out of the spout. So if you can keep that shorter, it helps to save power. The other part of the design as well, again, very similar to your 890. People talk about drum width and they get all excited because, oh, this has got a bigger chopping cylinder than somebody else's. The bit that we always argue is there's no body width difference, everything is the same wide body, but it's the same to the blower. So unlike a combine, like your Lexion for example, when you put a lot of stuff in the front, most of it comes out the top and some of it comes out the back. On a forager, every bit that goes in here has to come out the spout. So there's no point in arguing about a very wide chopping cylinder if you've got a very narrow accelerator, because it all has to go through there. So on a Jaguar, the part of the design is there's only 9% difference in the width of the chopping cylinder to the width of the accelerator. And that is really, really key to like your crop flow efficiency and saving fuel, saving power. Because as soon as you restrict it from a very wide cylinder to a narrow blower, it slows down. You'll put more power into speed it back up again. Again, you see the blockages, yeah. So this is easy, you know, wet grass is ever so easy to blow. You chop dry grass or very short material that goes like powder, then again it takes more power to try and get rid of it.
You can't blow feathers.
No. No, it's like powdery snow. You can't make it into a snowball and throw it at someone. And again, that crop flow design, if you were to trace the crop flow of this in 2022, so what's on your 890, they're very, very similar. Again, it's all part of that patented design that we still use. Same with the drive line, very similar. Okay, it's beefed up because this is more power, but you see the main drive pulley here, the belt on it, and then it goes all the way back parallel to the chassis, back to the main drive clutch, engine across the chassis. So pretty much every ounce of power, torque you get from the engine is on the main drive clutch, it's on the belt, it's onto the chopping cylinder, onto the blower or the cracker. So you're trying to make the best use of all that horsepower. And even without me being a Claas man with a Claas body warmer on, what I'm really proud to say is, and it really shows how successful the machine is and how good the arguments are, the forager, so a Jaguar range, is the most successful machine Claas build. So anywhere in the world, roughly every other forager says Jaguar on the side of it. So in Europe, Lexion especially, and Trion now, Tucano, very successful. If you go to North America, not so successful. But even North America, Jaguars are still number one. So a lot of that's down to crop flow efficiency, driveline efficiency, very good reliability, and the fact that the design's tried, tested, and very well proven. So the nice thing to say is that we sell more Jaguar foragers than all the competition put together, and a lot of it's from that crop flow design that you've seen for many, many years. Like I said, your machine's got 5,000 hours on it, so it's going strong.
Big one strong. Without a doubt.
So every single machine now is
straight six.
Yeah, every machine now is stage 5. Yeah, 790 horsepower, but because of the exhaust emissions, that's where the big unit is here. Yeah. So if you look at a 980 or a 990, or to be fair, any colour forager, you look at a dark green or a slightly funny shade of green, they all have 2 exhaust pipes at the top, like our 980 and 990. So where we would run a V12 MAN engine and they run a V12 Liebherr engine, they all work pretty much the same. So each bank of the engine has a separate exhaust system to treat it. So that is then duplicated to give you the 2 pipes at the top. Because everything now is going to be pretty much tier 5, or certainly 4 final or tier 5. So yeah, we use now in a 970, this is an MAN straight 6, and then the bigger machines use MAN V8s, and then everything smaller, so a
9... engine probably, yeah.
No, so everything like 960 to a 930 and an 880 to an 840 are Mercedes straight 6. But the nice thing with this, the previous 970 was an MAN V8, and we had a lot of die-hard fans of that engine. One, because it was a nice engine, sounded very nice, had a nice little crackle to it, especially when it was loaded. But if you use this machine and drive this machine, most customers would argue, and I would say the same, it's a nicer thing to use because it's a lot torquier. So where the MAN V8 engine would have its peak torque after that it would drop off quite aggressively. This has a much flatter torque curve for much longer, so it hits its peak torque at around 1700 RPM and it would hold it all the way down to 1300. So it's much smoother. So when you get in the lumpy, inconsistent stuff, it's a much more forgiving thing to drive because it has a lot more torque to keep it going. Much smoother engine, similar size to the V8. So the V8 was 16.1 litres, this is 16.2. So not far off 3 litres a cylinder. So the capacity is pretty much the same, just bigger bore cylinders, nice long stroke as well. But yeah, driveline is similar in the way it's laid out.
It's really well designed.
In order to try and keep the panel work and the body work nice and narrow, the rear of it's really quite sculpted because you see now, especially with 6-cylinder or V12 engines, there's not much room between the end of the engine and the panel work. But it still again fits into the bodywork, it's still nice and compact. If you look at this one, pretty something you'll see is very different to your 890. So when you go to a Jaguar 900 series, you get a 16 kilo auto loop system. 800 series use 8 kilos. I think on yours it's probably even smaller again.
Oh, it's probably only about 4.
Yeah. So even with a corn cracker in, to be fair, it doesn't come full from the factory. Connor's topped ours up to fill it up. You know, it's pretty much a season.
See that? Yeah, season's worth of grease.
I'm just doing 1200 RPM.
The boards to take out
corn cracker rollers are
belly
running
pan
3000.
Must be, that's the wedge.
When you get to the
Yeah.
accelerator, it's
An hour.
2500.
You walk around.
What's the RAM then for?
And there's just a lot of load.
Well, that's
so
the
compared
question.
to like combine can block
So RAM do it back to 12.
High RPM. Yes, for accelerator gap adjustment.
Oh,
So-
so tightens it in or lets it back.
Yeah,
All
pretty
right.
much on the 900s, whenever you're coming along, you can adjust your accelerator up and down. So
Right.
where you would have to get out into the back with your 2 spanners and nip it up if you've got a bit of dry stuff or anything like that. That there you can just do it on the move.
So on Foragers now, so 900 series, we've sold quite a few with it. There's an option called water injection to help in exactly that. So instead of just squirting the additive into like the feed roller housing and the blower,
Wet the crop.
there's a couple more injection points. So it actually goes into the bottom of the concave underneath the chopping cylinder, and also just above the sort of spout turret. Again, to just try and lubricate all of it. But the nice thing with it is you can get it to inject when there's no crop in it. So when you turn on the headland and there's no crop flow going through, that's when it sprays the water in. So instead of the crop taking it all away, it washes the crop flow with no crop in it. And then as soon as you put the crop in it, hopefully that water softened it up, that it takes it back off again. But because you do it every time you turn, it does keep it all a lot cleaner. So there's always a favourite to try and get rid of like the wax oil effect where it gets stuck in it, is to put water through it. But yeah, the variable blower helps a lot.
Helps with that.
Yeah.
Good in that case,
Yeah, and again,
when it's dry grass, you can
Really tighten her up.
Just gab it, pushing out the spout. That's when you used to get into trouble with the old ones. Was where you, like you say, you just get a block wedge of.
Well, wedge, it just wouldn't go out. No, there was nothing in it. You couldn't blow it.
The other difference on a 900 series compared to like an 800, on your 890 or a new 880 today is no different. You have the little shims to take out underneath the concave to try and give it more blow.
Tighten up,
Yeah, so on a 900 series Forager, the concave underneath the chopping cylinder is linked to the anvil. So as the cylinder gets smaller in diameter because the blades wear, the anvil comes back with a shear bar, the concave goes up.
Oh, tightens.
Yeah, so the gap between the cylinder and the concave with a new set of blades or a worn set of blades is almost the same. So the drop off in blowing performance is marginal from new to worn out because it's always adjusting with the anvil.
Constantly adjusting and keeping her tight.
Yeah. Again, that always helps the blow of the machine.
It's always a fun bit when everyone's watching you.
You're doing very well there.
Oh, I'll give it a go.
I do call this my office.
Aye.
When I do run the harvester.
Oh, yeah.
I always call them in the office.
In the office. It's normally where you take all the phone calls anyway, isn't
It
it?
is, yes. A little bit better looking office than mine, but anyway.
Yeah, the view's not
Oh,
too
no,
bad.
the view is brilliant. Oh, yeah. It's a bad place to be.
Maybe the same as yours, maybe different, but for the metal detector you've essentially got a 2-position switch, so you basically, if I press the reverse button in halfway, or reverse the header, press it in all the way, it does the header and the feed rollers.
Oh, right.
So if you do have something stuck in the front end, you can
you were saying that you could split it. Yeah, you can get rid of some of the grass that hasn't the object,
exactly.
and then get the grass that has the object.
at the top end.
Yeah. We'd always fill with the trailer this side.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
no doubt I'm filling the wrong side for you boys.
Yeah. But that was always the thing, that you always fit that way. Most of them would always fit this way.
Had a feeling we had something. Could have seen it in your eyes. Took a second, but I'm right here, waiting for you with open arms. How about you coming closer? We can do my place. Maybe we can try meeting up by 7. You'll be saying over, so it's guaranteed. I'll be forever thinking more about you and me. I don't wanna let you go. I don't wanna let you go. Nah. Tell me what you want to know. Run your fingers down me slow. 'Cause you're in my head. You are. 'Cause you're in my head. 'Cause you're in my what you think? What you think? 'Cause you're in my what you think? What you think? 'Cause you're in my you're the love that I've been craving. Let me in now, don't be sad.
So we are back at our own yard now, beside our own.
5 days later you come back.
I know. Beside our own Claas Jaguar 890. Nearly 20 years in the difference between this harvester and the harvester that we've seen in today's video.
Yep.
So you just wanted to
Yeah,
say
no, just a big thanks to all the Claas team in the UK. It was an honour to be invited. We had a great day.
yeah.
Great to meet up with the other YouTubers. All the boys.
George Sanders.
George Sanders, Ollie Vlogs, Ollie's Farm and Lord Muck.
Yeah.
We had a great chat. With them the whole day. No, spinning the harvester. A harvester was something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 cylinder, 6 pots producing nearly 800 horsepower.
And that's a V8 engine and that putting out 600.
Well, she's rated at
Isn't it?
590.
Yeah.
She's a 600. It's a 900 engine.
In that.
When it blew up, it was changed to a 9. But the engines are the same. It's just
Yeah.
a different.
It's just a more powerful engine in that compared to what it would come out with.
Well, there's 70. There was 515, I think, was what an 890 was, and they were a big harvester in the day. But that one is 790.
And that's not even the biggest one.
One of the upgrades we're going to put on if we can now, if we have time.
A spout flat.
A camera on the spout.
Yeah. You were well impressed
Well
with that.
chuffed with that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's lovely to see it. Lovely to see all the machines working. We got driving the Luton Show and the teleporter, and yeah, it was grand.
Yeah.
And I think the parts distribution and all the parts of it was savage.
Big thanks to Rob too.
Big thanks for Rob for the spinning the harvester.
Got to show you around it.
Got to show around, and Colin, I was up in the moor with him, with Colin.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
Great.
anyways, I think that's really it. Father Phil just wanted to
No,
thank
we just-
you for that.
we were-
We've one more video to come out on the Claas day.
We were
and
rushing off, and we just didn't get to finish
Yeah.
up our thing properly.
So we've one more video to come out on the Claas, and that is they're all weather a visitor experience or customer experience. We get push up with Claas Torian, play around with a Claas Scorpion telehandler. And also there's a bit more crack between us and Ollie Vlogs and George Sanders and Lord Muck and Ollie's Farm, where we were messing around with a bit of a green screen.
You were in
and
the green
that.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did good
So
crack in
that's a video that will follow, as I got just so much footage on that day. But
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
yeah, it was an amazing day. But anyways, look, we're going to leave it at that. The Jag is coming out tomorrow because we have to get the beat drill in at the way back of this shed. So there's going to be a bit of Tetris playing tomorrow.
And we have to get ready for silage.
And we have to get ready for silage too. We won't find it coming over this side of the water. But anyways, but you get to see that in the next videos. Anyways, we're going to leave it at that for today's video. Hope you enjoyed learning more about the Claas 970 and the comparison to the 890. And we're going to leave it at that. As always, please like and subscribe to the channel. Videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday. That is it from us. Good luck.